How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal, and today we're going to talk about an arcade port. One that escaped a really probably janky fate if it was published by Tengen. But it escaped that fate and was published by Jaleco, and what we got was probably the best thing that Tengen has ever developed on the NES. It's a mixture of a couple of different genres, notably puzzle and shooter. And if you know your arcade history and you go back far enough back, the multiplayer mechanics in this game kind of feel like that old arcade game Wizards of War, where you control a particular... Was it Wizards of War? No, it was Warlords. I'm tripping. This game Warlords, where you had each player controlled a corner of the screen, and there was an effort done to destroy the other players' bases. Well, this game kind of handles something like that, but it does it a little bit differently. This game is from 1990. The NES port was released in 1991. And interestingly enough, Konami published a port of this game also, but that was only in Japan, so we're not talking about that one today. Today we're going to take a look at the NES port of Rampart. Now, Rampart is pretty cool. It was a game that I actually didn't see an arcade cabinet of until years after I played it for the first time. Fiddled around with it on the Super Nintendo, then played the NES version, then years later played the arcade port on Midway Arcade Treasures Volume 1, and then saw a cabinet. Well, this game is pretty cool. You control like a little encampment, and the object of the game is to destroy the enemy while keeping the walls around your encampment intact. Each round you build your walls, you keep your walls set up, you place your cannons, and then you have to destroy these enemy soldiers, either coming in by ship, or, and if you're talking about other versions of the game, by land using tanks and whatnot. But in this version of the game, you're on an island. There's always a section of the map that's covered by water, and there's always enemy ships coming in. So after a round, they tally up the points. If you defeat the enemy ships, tally up the points, rebuild the damaged sections of your wall. If you've gotten more ground, if you've built in more sections of the landscape, you can place more cannons. You start out being able to place 3. You can place more as the game goes on. And you keep going until either you fail at the rebuilding portion of the level, or you defeat all of the enemy ships. And this keeps going on and on until you clear every section of the island. Once you cleared every section of the island, you defeat the enemy commanders by either making them walk the plank or putting them to the guillotine. Though the beheading isn't actually shown on the NES because it's Nintendo and we didn't need to see that when we were 10 years old. I'm sorry. But this game, the rebuilding portions are pretty cool because they use randomized Tetris pieces. So a lot of the same pieces that you would have saw in a game of Tetris, you have to place around this encampment to fill in the broken wall sections and take more of the landscape. And yeah, it's awesome in execution. I thought it would be kind of tricky with the NES. It will feel different from the arcade because it's the arcade, but it works really well on the NES. Tengen did a good job with the development of this game. They did a really good job of recreating the several different play mechanics that you get in this game. Now, later on, it was ported to the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and all these other consoles and computers and whatever devices. But this NES port is actually really, really fun. And if you can track down a copy, you're in for a good time. Now, if you want a copy of Rampart, it's not that bad. The cheapest you can find is about $10, and they tick up from there. The Super NES version is about that same price, maybe a little cheaper. You might be able to find it for like $7.99, something like that. But regardless of what version you get, honestly, you can't really go wrong. This is a good game. All the versions of it play really well. And this is a hard formula to screw up. And thankfully, it wasn't screwed up. So, yeah. Cannons and sinking ships and all that and claiming land. It's really fun. It's an interesting concept and you'll get a kick out of it. This has been the 8-Bit Animal. And I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, Data East loused this one up bad. Real bad. Get it?